The double countdown.
Right.
Heard ever
How it's
before.
supposed to be.
How it's supposed to be. Here on episode 38 of the Block to Block podcast, the best podcast in the world for all things Web3. Here we break down the technology, what's going on in the market, and the ways in which you can benefit. I am NFT and Jai,
And I am Web3 Wayne
and over here the talk is different.
every single week. Always. Always, every week, we give you different talk. And every time we give you different talk, we're going to give you the same disclaimer. You want to know why? Because we don't want you to lose your cheese, cheddar, mozzarella, or provolone. Yes, we are telling you once again, this podcast is strictly for informational purposes only. By no means will we be responsible. If you lose your hard earned cash, it's not on us. So please, 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 please take this information and go consult a financial advisor, or even tell your financial advisor to start watching this podcast so they can help you make more money. And with that, let's get into it.
Let's get into it, bro. How are
Yes,
you feeling?
sir. Oh, feeling good, man. Feeling good. Great week this week for us, the Relink boys, man. Timbucktoo is making great headway. Man, loving just everything that we're doing is just energizing. And all those long days, long nights. It's nice when you can get some reward for it. So I'm feeling good, man. How you feeling in NFT and Jive? What's going on in your world?
Man, I'm feeling great. Today was a long day, but in a good way. In a good way. Great conversations, a lot of great energy that's rolling over from yesterday because we had our entrepreneurship launchpad at the gathering spot yesterday evening, and it was an amazing event. You know,
Yeah.
as we've been trying to tell y'all, we're outside, we're doing all these events, and we're focused on bringing impact to our communities, right? And so we had like our three panelists. Shout out to the panelists. Shout out to Milena Dory. Shout out to Ty Brown. And shout out to Benny Lorenzo. Those three gave tremendous amounts of gems in terms of what you need to do in order to truly be an entrepreneur, right? Not the platitudes, the rah Instagram talk. It was like, no, here are like real actionable insights that you need to take if you want to like grow your team, build that brand and presence, and most importantly, manage your capital efficiently. It,
Yes.
it was dope. It was dope. How you felt about it?
No, man, listen, I felt like it was an amazing event. I love that we could bring this to, our TGS people, our TGS community. But even more so, man, look, I be feeling half the time those events be for us, man. There be so many gems in there that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna use that. Oh, we gonna
Mhm,
definitely use that. Oh
mhm.
yeah, that's another one there. So listen, we I think for me and you both, us being entrepreneurs and that being near and dear to our hearts, we enjoy putting on these events. So we're gonna keep putting them on, man. Do not miss the next one. Where we're bringing just that game to the people and give you inside scoop into the minds of entrepreneurs who are out here doing it, right? Not just no shade to the Instagram entrepreneurs. I respect your hustle. I respect your game. I respect the fact that you are putting people on game. But I think at times too, you need to be in rooms with real people. A
Mhm.
big thing that they talked about last night was networking and building that network, and the fact that business is a relationship game, right?
Mhm.
It's not about what you know, it's about who you know, right? So you're only going to get as far as your network. And so, creating that space for people who want to be entrepreneurs, who are entrepreneurs, are fledgling entrepreneurs, right? They're making that jump, but are figuring out what they need to do that. I think look for those events, right? Look for the rooms where you can start talking to people because there are things that we did where we made certain mistakes that we should have
Mhm.
just talked to somebody about it, right? We really should have taken that approach of really going out and seeking that information Ty Brown, one of our panelists, he also gave some great game, saying that you need to get a mentor,
Hmm.
right? And even with a mentor, you know, you're not, even if it's not a mentor, right? Even if it's, for instance, you're going to look for an employee or you're going to look for somebody for a specific skill, right? You're not paying them for their time, right? You're paying them so you don't waste your time. So you're not paying them for their time. You're paying them so you don't waste your time. And I thought that was big, right? That was really big. So a lot of great gems. I love the event. I think that we had a great turnout. Shout out to everybody that came out. It was beautiful to see all the people in there. Very inspiring. We had everything from consulting, diversity consulting, tech consulting, to real estate, to media production, and it was awesome seeing all the different businesses and different types of entrepreneurs. We have people that work 9 to 5s and are entrepreneurs as their second job, right? I don't want to say it's their side hustle. It really is like their second job. So there's so many different types of entrepreneurs. I thought it was beautiful that we were able to create that space, and that people came out. Man, it really is a blessing when people kind of show up for you, right? And so
Hmm.
I loved it. I loved it. I'm gonna stop there in my rant, but I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, I echoed the exact same sentiments. Even prior to doing the event, I was just like talking to like literally everybody who was there, right? Just understanding their story of what they wanted to get from it. And I was just astounded by how much dope activity they're doing, right? Like you have people, as you mentioned, yes, I have a real estate portfolio. I'm looking to like scale my business, to another person who was like, hey, I'm just starting out, but I'm working on this AI model that can do X, Y, and Z. And I'm just like, yo, if you accomplish that, that's going to be definitely a multi-billion-dollar company. So
Right? Yeah.
there's a lot of great energy in that room. You know, I'll say this in terms of the big takeaway. One aspect that so we had our panelists, they focused on different areas from like leadership and strategy, brand and market, and financial management. But one thing they all said in common is as an entrepreneur, if you're really building out this venture, you need to know your numbers. And it's like numbers in different ways, right? From like a strategy standpoint, you got to like really understand what the industry is, right? Like what's the market share that's available, your competitive landscape, all of that. Knowing those numbers from like the brand and the marketing side, you need to have key performance indicators to show how successful are your marketing campaigns and how that relates to conversions. And then when it comes to like the financial management aspect, you definitely need to know your numbers there in terms of what's your cash flow management, how much you have coming in, how much you got going out, what's your ratios in terms of like debt, equity, this, that, and the third. So I really implore everybody who's an entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur. It may seem rudimentary or basic or something that most people don't talk about, but take the time to truly, truly understand the space that you're in and your numbers from a holistic aspect. Every portion of your business has some kind of numbers or metrics related to it, so you got to know them.
Great point. Great takeaway. Yeah, yeah. Something that can be overlooked. Something it seems so simple, but it can be overlooked, especially when you build a business. You're trying to do a million things at once,
Mhm.
and sometimes you got to get to the basics. So yeah. Um, one more thing I add to that is I remember an entrepreneur friend of ours talking about, um, you know, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who owns the business, you have to realize that you got to get out of your business so people will be in their business, right?
Mhm.
And you have to run your business. And I think that was really the theme is like, what does running your business look like? So I think you made some great points there. But yeah, it was great. Great time.
Absolutely. But with that, let's just get on with it to the show. You guys been waiting all day. We started later today, and you was probably wondering, aha, we got these boys. They say they're going every week, every Thursday, but it's 9 o'clock and they still haven't done anything. We got to keep you in suspense because we're here every Thursday. And with that, let's kick it off, Mr. Web3 Wayne.
Yes, 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 sir. Starting off with quick take again. Today we'll be looking at Binance's VC arm with over 200 investments. They are focusing on explosive potential for Web3. So Binance Labs, which is the venture capital arm of Binance, which if you don't know is the world's largest crypto exchange, is continuing to invest into the Web3 startups and the ecosystem as a whole. So last August, they had 7.5 billion in assets, and it is now at 9 billion as at the end of Q1 or as we end Q1. And their belief is that Web3 is still in its early stages, right? In that blockchain technology, right? We hoping to make it blockchain. Blockchain technology has yet to see an explosive use case outside of financial instruments. Yes, we're talking the DeFi that had the world on fire not too long ago for good reasons and for bad. So Yibo Ling, the chief business officer of Binance Labs, said, "We are very much long-term investors in this space. We're not a fly-by-night, come in and try to get a quick hit and move on because our core business is obviously long on the entire industry." So currently they have 200 companies from over 25 countries with 50 of the projects incubated in the Binance programs. Some of the companies include Polygon, which is Ethereum sidechain, CertiK, a security firm, and Gombo, a South Korean game developer. Overall, they're taking the long-term route, and that is our quick take for today.
Fire.
NT and Jai, thoughts? What are your thoughts?
First of all, kudos to you for executing that quick take. That was like in and out, super quick, but like jam packed with a lot of content right there.
Hey, shout out, shout out to the producer, man. Hey, producer been doing this thing.
Yeah. Shout out to the team who's out here write up the show notes.
Yes, yeah. Shout out to the team, man. Big time.
But yeah, I think it's very important how they have the notion of being in it for the long haul, right? You know, Web3 is still very early on. Like the technology, blockchain technology didn't really get introduced until we saw Bitcoin in '09, I want to say. And okay, that may sound like, oh, it's over a decade ago, but when it comes to like the impact of technology, right? Like the first computer was introduced in what, like the '70s, '80s, and now look at how far we've gotten.
Yeah,
And so just seeing that we have this new wave of innovative technology, unlike the likes of what we've seen beforehand, and there's a lot of activity happening. We're still very early. It's still very nascent. Heck, outside of the European Union, there's still not a comprehensive framework of how we even regulate this space altogether.
yeah,
So I do agree with the sentiments of you gotta be in Web3 for the long haul in order to really see the impact it will have in the future. So it
yeah,
is pretty positive that, you know, Binance Labs or Binance is interested in being here for a longer term period. I mean, we say long term, we're saying like 10 plus years within Web3.
it just makes sense, right? Like that's a great point about the computer and that time frame. I think because of the already existing internet, we sometimes we allow that technology to speed up in our brain the timeline of this technology, right? Because it's being integrated into that internet and it feels like it's growing so fast and it's touching so many places, and it is. But really and truly, we've only seen the beginning. Really, what comes to my mind, listening to you say that, right, is that um, we haven't even gotten into Web3 really impacting the metaverse and augmented reality and things like that. And I think that's where, you know, we see billion-trillion-dollar opportunity is the fact that we're going to get some mesh of, you know, the internet and reality. And we're going to need some way to identify and track everything that's happening, right? And to have some third party do that, or to try to do it with the current technology stack, just won't be feasible. And you know, we see Web3 coming in, right? So this is something that isn't even a thing right now, right? That it's not even something that's on the radar. But as we look to the future and we look at, okay, what does this look like 20, 30 years down the line? We're probably going to see a convergence of all these, the AIs and the virtual reality and augmented reality and Web3 and NFTs and crypto. All of these things are going to verge together or merge together to, you know, create something that we can't even really imagine right now. I know in the 90s, nobody would have ever thought about Instagram or Uber, or
Mm,
they would have thought you crazy. Like, why would I sit on my phone and just look at other people's pictures all day when I can go outside and do X, Y, and Z? But that's just how the cookie crumbles. So, yeah.
exactly. And you know, you brought up a great point about just how technology does advances, and it's usually beyond the scope of our imaginations, right? Because we're so limited to what we see in front of us, right?
Yeah.
Like, bro, we're not even at the point where most Web2 users are even using Web3 tech, right? We still have
Right.
banks trying to roll out their own digital wallets. We're seeing which cryptos are standing the test of time. That, like, we don't even have interoperability being like where you can just easily move your assets from one chain to another. It's so early. It's extremely early. And so it's very critical to, one, be imaginative and think about what are like the solutions to which you can use these Web3 technologies. And two, just like be patient, but like have rational patience. I don't know. I think I just coined that term, right? Like,
Yeah.
but like rational patience is going to really be the key indicator here. Also, it's interesting to see just like how much they're deploying their capital, right? They went from like 7.5 billion to adding another a billion and a half to nine within like what, a 6 month time frame, if you will. Like August to what, end of Q1. That's like roughly 6 or 7 months or something like of that nature.
While FTX was crashing, yes.
And while FTX was crashing, but one stark difference that the Binance Labs team talked about was just their approach to deploying capital versus what FTX was doing. You know, it's funny because these business owners, they always throw shade at one another, but doing it in a professional way. You know, they was just saying like they was like just essentially baffled at how much capital FTX was deploying towards FTX's VC investments, right? And they was just scratching their heads like, how are you able to like invest such an amount at such rapid pace? And unfortunately for those startups, once the implosion of FTX occurred, they were kind of left out to dry. So that's another thing Binance has going for them. You know, they're kind of taking this slow and steady approach in which they want to ensure that they're really investing in like the best companies, the best projects. I mean, heck, we spent how many episodes talking about Polygon, and Polygon is one of these investees. So it looks like they're
Yeah.
winning.
Yeah, I mean, from a pure business standpoint, great lesson about opportunity, running a solid business and just waiting for the opportunity. Sometimes if you're operating in risky, risky environments, make sure your ship is solid,
Hmm.
and know that there may be some opportunity that may come up because somebody else in your industry isn't operating at that level, right? They're operating at this really loose whatever level where they feel like they can take this risk because of X, Y, and Z, right? Whatever reason. And you make sure that your ship is right, What you should also be doing is preparing for those opportunities, right? Luck is nothing but preparation plus opportunity, right? Binance is lucky that they could grow from 7.5 to 9 billion, but they were prepared.
Mhm.
So another great business lesson that we can extrapolate out that story as well. So
Yeah.
just yeah, a lot of gems.
As they always say, proper preparation prevents poor performance.
Hey, shout out to Milena. She gave a gem with that one. Shout out to her.
Mhm.
Milena Dory, Zenful Kitchen. Check her out. Dope, dope, dope. Dope entrepreneur.
Yeah. That's why you guys gotta come out to the events. But
We tried told them.
we try to tell them. But yeah, I think that's what we're really seeing with Binance Labs, So for you, like the everyday user or viewer, now look and see who are like the big players in the space when it comes to throwing around the cash and investing in these projects, right? Because they, they call them market makers, if you will. They're the individuals who are going to be able to really impact this ecosystem by hopefully choosing and selecting the right projects to invest in. You know, we're seeing some good, right? Because once again, shout out to Polygon. They've been making a huge impact within the whole ecosystem. But nonetheless, really pay attention to which organizations or which VC firms are in the space, who are they invested in, why they're investing in them, and what's the overall impact that's being manifested within the space. And with that, you can have a pretty good indicator of how the entire blockchain movement is progressing forward. Yeah.
Love it. Love
But
it. Love it.
with that, we was talking about Binance, but now it's time to talk about another power player within the world of Web3, Venom Foundation. Venom Foundation, an organization based out of Abu Dhabi, has partnered with Kenya to strike a deal to build a blockchain and Web3 hub in Africa. So the Kenyan government yesterday, as we was given our entrepreneurship launchpad event, the Kenyan government was finalizing a deal with Abu Dhabi's blockchain platform Venom Foundation to launch a blockchain and Web3 hub in Africa with the focus in driving blockchain based solutions for innovations in the continent's key sectors, which includes finance, supply chain, agriculture, business, and cross border trade. And so, what Venom wants to do is serve as the central platform for Africa's technology companies and governmental entities and really help foster that knowledge exchange and that stakeholder collaboration. Venom is looking to provide tools and resources to support Kenya and other African countries in the digital transformations and really hone in on those blockchain based solutions for like supply chain management, land registry, voting systems, and assets organizations, essentially gov tech. So as we kind of look forward, the Secretary of for Investments, Trade and Industry, Moses Kuria, he said that we believe in the establishment of this blockchain hub will catalyze further innovations in various industries, benefiting our people both nationally and globally. And this is really critical because when it comes to just the growth of blockchain investments within Africa, the continent has really been becoming this hub for innovation. There has been a 429% increase in blockchain deals or Web3 projects that have been getting VC funding within Africa. As of recently, we've seen $474 million deployed within the continent, which went up crazy from 90 million in 2021. So as you can see, there's a lot of bullish activity right here. And Venom Foundation, they are a critical player as well. They partner up with Iceberg Capital around a year or so ago to launch their $1 billion fund for Web3 projects for, essentially projects or companies who want to use their own blockchain, the Venom blockchain, in order to create their solutions. So, they got ability out here for these companies to invest in. And it's really impactful, right? There's a lot of excitement within across the continent, especially within Kenya, for this collaboration. And it's also important to note that, lawmakers within Kenya about a week or so ago have introduced their finance bill of 2023, which seeks to um, place a 3% tax on all crypto and NFT transfers, right? So let's say you buy a NFT for $1,000, right? Or 1,000 Kenyan shillings, for example. 3% of that $1,000 value will be taxable and be paid out to the government. And so that's a lot of activity going on, right? From the governmental side of Kenya. They're looking to partner with this huge blockchain network out of Abu Dhabi, and they're already trying to introduce legislation in order to, add some regulatory frameworks to the country in terms of like tax collection or tax revenue collection. So
Yeah,
really, really important stuff, really exciting stuff, especially for Africa. Cardano, you have some competition.
you have some competition. They coming in strong too. They coming in strong. You know what I think is interesting about this, and something we just have to keep in mind is, Venom Foundation is the first, recognized, like the first licensed blockchain company by the Abu Dhabi global market, right? And they went on to develop that Venom, Venom blockchain, and they're now, um, making these moves within Africa. I think it's important to note, after everything that we've been hearing in the U.S., how important it is to have regulation and to have a government that's supportive of this technology, right? When it comes to really setting the standard around the world, and really kind of flexing some of that soft power, if you will, from the quality of the technology, and the quality of the backing, right? So I mean, it really seems as though they want to really develop a hub within the continent where Web3 can flourish, right? Where they can continue to build out the Venom Foundation, the Venom blockchain. We kind of see that they have that fund, right? They have a Billy sitting on the side waiting to invest. Of course, they need to put it in places. We're talking about venture capital, right? In places where you can 10x, 20x, 30x your return. You need to find places that are going to grow. Um, and so, I'll say this statement by CTO, by Venom Foundation CTO Christopher Lewis Sue. And he said Africa is already rich in natural resources and human capital. By bringing the next generation blockchain technology to the continent, it would empower the people and help not only Kenya, but many other African nations to capitalize on their assets and participate in new global markets competitively. Right. So I love this because it's not just about them coming in and extracting, right? It really is about supporting and propping up, the continent, and Kenya specifically, right? What they have going on, um, and coming in with the mindset of, we are bringing a foundation for your country to build on, right? And something to keep in mind, right? Something to remember, right? Globally, the population is declining, but in the continent of Africa, right, in all of its countries, they have the youngest population. That population is only growing at this point, right? 60% of African citizens are under 25, and Africa's youth accounts for 42 of the global youth, right? People under 25. So, I mean, there is so much potential there, and I think it's really, really awesome to see Venom Foundation taking this kind of leading role here, and taking this approach, and coming with the mindset that they're coming with. It's great to see. It's great to see.
Yeah, it's it's very important to note that as we talked about earlier with the lessons we learned from the launch pad, right? Like those relationships, those partnerships that you broker, it's very key, right? Because with Venom Foundation, them being based out of Abu Dhabi, their strategic focus is to create these blockchain type solutions for like, the Middle East, North Africa, but it looks like they're expanding to the entire continent of Africa, right?
Right.
And it's very strategic if because why do you think Cardano was focused on, being the blockchain for the continent? There's of course goodwill there, there's opportunity, but more importantly, it's about how do you position your network, your foundation as a huge leader, as a global leader. And we've been saying it for years on the Relink global platform, but Africa is that next huge opportunity when it comes to technology and business. And there's been a huge scramble from, both domestically in the continent and internationally of how do we establish operations, establish the infrastructure, establish all these business opportunities in order to really create this next generation of like just prosperity, if you will, right? And so it's very strategic that they've got in Kenya specifically because, according to Statista, which focuses on bringing a lot of comprehensive data points like on a global scale. Like I've used it a lot back in college. As of the end of 2019, there's been like 640 tech hubs in Africa, right? So we're talking about cities that have supportive ecosystems for technological advancement. And when it comes to the rankings of countries, Kenya is ranked number 4 in terms of having the most technological hubs, tech hubs. They have 50 all throughout their country. And within when we break it down on a city level, so that's on the country level. But when it comes to the city, like what's the top 5 tech hub cities within the continent? We have Nairobi as the top 5 hub, right? They have a population of about 4 million people, which is comparable to Cape Town in South Africa. And Nairobi has been called Silicon Savannah, right? Anytime you get some sort of comparison to like Silicon Valley, it shows that you have some kind of promising tech and innovative space, if you will, right?
You, you're
And
doing the right thing
you're
for
doing the right
sure.
thing. And that's why we have companies like a Microsoft, like a Visa, who have chosen Nairobi as one of their home bases, if you will, when it comes to their operations in Africa. And so it makes sense why Venom Foundation is choosing Kenya, right? Even when we talk about from like economic blocks, right? The East African countries, the EAC, that block of like countries like Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, they're like from a growth standpoint, they typically develop and grow the fastest compared to like other parts of the nation, right? Of the continent, excuse me. So yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense, very strategic from the Venom Foundation standpoint. If they can become the main blockchain network with that is used for like gov tech initiatives throughout the continent, they can like win the war when it comes to who's the most popular chain. So
Yeah,
Cardano, you got some competition.
you got some
Call
competition.
us. Call us if you need some help. I'm just saying.
Look, yeah, look. We tried, look, we tried, told them, you know what I'm saying? There's only so much we could do, right? They got to come to us. So we'll see what happens. I think you make great points there. Just pointing to the tech hubs and the importance of that piece. But then also those bigger companies who are setting up shops there. Of course, Venom Foundation, they're not dummies. Of course, Visa, they're not dummies. Microsoft, all these places see that there is an opportunity there, and that you know these places are, we talked about it a little bit last week as well, right? Like we're seeing in African countries be a little bit more open to this new technology, right? They haven't been, head hunting for anything Web3, anything blockchain, anything crypto. They've been saying, hey, if we want to advance our society, this is a technology that we have to embrace. So we see it here again, right? Where, not only, is Kenya embracing the technology, but they're bringing in people who have an understanding, who have some foundation that can help prop up their ecosystem as well. So I love the move that Kenya is making. I love what I'm seeing from African countries. Um, you know, I'm liking Kenya a little bit more. What I'm seeing from them a little bit more than some of the previous countries we've talked about. But that's neither here nor there. Don't shoot the messenger, please.
And once again,
Yeah.
if you're a person of some sort of influence, like you have some kind of role when it comes to the decision making of these technologies, the development of these technologies, the implementation of these technologies, and you want to be on a block to block episode, book a flight. We'll be out
Oh, hit us up. We can do virtual. We can do a little virtual interview as well.
virtually
But
in person. We can do that.
facts, facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Another great topic.
Another great topic. We've been having a lot of segments on a global scale, right? Like when we talked about like Hong Kong in the previous episode, we talked about India, we talked about the EU, we've spoken about Nigeria, Kenya, Abu Dhabi, we mentioned them as well, Dubai.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's kind of the nature of the industry and economy right now. We seeing in America, you know, a lot of the you know the way that regulators are acting, the rhetoric in general, especially from the legal side, right, the legislative side, is scaring people away. We aren't seeing anybody say, "Hey, let's do this new thing. Let's make this move." So, I think on a global scale, that's where things are happening in the Web3 space.
hmm And we even talked about in the previous episode, like how when it comes to the United States share of global blockchain developers, we've been steadily losing that market share, right? You know, we're seeing more of these developers starting to go to, or not necessarily physically go, but participate in development projects in other countries, right? Especially when these countries have more of a favorable attitude or clearer regulations or what have you. So, listen, hit up the Block to Block podcast show. We'll give you our insights based upon what we're seeing in the marketplace. All we require is a trip, you know, and yeah.
I second that. I second that. I
Listen.
second
What's that mean? Your competition is calling.
that.
Bringing us out. We Venom Foundation. Cut the flight. We'll come out to Abu Dhabi.
You feel me? You feel me? Stop playing games. You know what it
You know
is.
you want to.
You know what it is.
You have to.
We have no other choice. And we have no other choice but to say thank you all for listening in again today. Another great episode. Y'all been rocking with us for 38 weeks
Mhm.
straight. Shout out to you. Definitely don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and please share with your loved ones. Get this knowledge, get this game out there to your peoples. And with that, I am Web3 Wayne.
And I'm NFT and Jai. Peace.